welcome to Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast bonus episode. How about
We haven't
that?
done this in a while. I know. Just for all of you.
Hey, man.
Haven't done that in a while.
It's true. They deserve it, man. Nobody dropped off for the month off or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
you know,
And
why
if they
not?
did, we're going to call them out on the show, but we don't have anybody to call out.
No, it's
Man.
cool. We got stuff to talk about too. I mean, we saw the movie everybody's talking about, and
Yeah.
Well,
this is specifically about Scream 6. No fancy title, Scream 6. Like fucking old school.
Yeah, they went back to it. Do you think that it was do you think when they did the Scream movie, the last one, because I just watched it yesterday morning before I went to see 6. So I watched Scream for the first time since the theater, just to catch up. I still feel the same about it. Nothing changed, but I took a lot of notes actually. And then, but the thing is this, but they were referencing it. They were saying, they were kind of like doing the meta thing to the max in the last one, where they were making fun of themselves. They were saying, why would you just not put a number on it, this and that? So it was, I don't know if they were making fun of themselves or they're making fun of fans that would say that.
Both.
But so what are they doing here by going back to calling it 6? Are they saying, well, we were wrong when we did that? Or are they, do you think it was a cute thing planned from the beginning?
It was a cute thing. They got a dancer with the meta shit, which admittedly I've mentioned it in chat with you. That's the stuff I'm tired of. But I guess they figured it's part of the DNA of Scream. If you get rid of that, you might piss off the diehard fans. But I figured that's done. This new trilogy didn't necessarily need it. They could have referenced the requel in the last one. Like, I'm night and day. Like, I didn't like the last one that much. I was okay with it. This one I really liked, possibly even love. Like, it was a night and day reaction. I went in and I'll get into it. My initial thoughts though is I was very happy with this movie, and I think the argument for what you're saying is they say now we're part of a franchise, which they already were part of, but now they substantiated in their spiel. So I think that's what gives it the ability to use the Scream 6 moniker.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's accurate as well.
And it is a franchise. And after the trilogy, what else can you do with the rules? Like, I don't remember as much as I enjoy 4, I don't remember what they said in 4 about, what did they call it? I don't remember.
I thought that was the reboot as well. I thought that was, reboot my balls.
I gotta go back. We're supposed to watch them this week. Actually, when I finish this, my daughter wants to see Scream. Okay. Well, because they didn't see it. I saw it yesterday by myself at 1. And I went by myself because, they're not caught up. I mean, Irene saw part 5 with me last year. That's the last time we saw it. But they don't know the franchise. Frankie's, I think, seen some of 1. So it's like, well, maybe I'll go again next Saturday or something with all of them. And then in the meantime, I can try to catch them up or something. So maybe.
And this is going to be spoiler ridden. I just want to interject before I forget. So if you haven't seen the movie, you probably don't want to listen to this or watch this episode right now. Check out the movie, then come back. If you don't give a shit about spoilers, then enjoy. But it's funny. We took the whole family, except for my oldest, who's at school and wasn't with us. But we went because Christian's a fan of this, and he was disappointed with this one. He loved the last one, and he was disappointed. And I think it had to do with the gore, because he doesn't like the excessive gore, and this is the goriest Scream, no question about it.
You think? I still don't see it. I didn't think the last one was the goriest, and I didn't think this. I still think 4 is.
4 was the goriest. Then I thought the last one, just the one that stuck to me was the knife through the cheek in the last one. This one up the ante. There was so much gore, like the stab in the eye, the stab in the mouth. People get stabbed in the face. They love stabbing people in the face, and I love that. Because and there was the whole, not just decapitated, but the whole body in the fridge. Like, this paid homage to, homage. We're going to say it that way. No, with the silent H. That's what we're going to do on the show. And they did it with Friday 2. Like, there's the little Easter eggs for everything. It is really a Scream 2 remake too. If you like, right out of the gate, it's very
To a
much Scream
degree.
2. Like the parents or family, in this case, they took a little umbrage instead of having like a crazy film student, which there is still a crazy film student in this. But they took a parent of a former killer coming back for revenge.
They did.
It's in a theater at the end, in the theater that's behind me, which has been turned into the Scream.
That's true.
The Scream, like, so in part 2, it was the theatrical presentation, and the big climatic scene happens in the theater, and here it happens in the whole Scream shrine. I was hooked on phonics there. Yeah, the Scream shrine, which I thought was really cool. I liked everything, and even the killers went to, crazy 11 on the crazy radar, like in typical Scream fashion. They're normal people until that last reel hits, and then they got to go fucking nuts. And Dermot Mulroney went crazy. Carrie, my wife, said that was the one biggest pet peeve, was how crazy he went. I'm like, that's no different than the other Screams, really.
Well, that's like any whodunit slasher from the beginning. Look at Mrs. Voorhees. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was normal talking, and then all of a sudden she went off. And anytime someone's discovered at the end, and they in the old school slashers in the 80s, or even in the Giallo, it's just like when they reveal themselves and they show their true colors, they always tend to freaking go off the hook, because now they can. Right?
Yeah.
They've been waiting to do it all this time, and to be able to tell the people, hey, the ones that they want to kill. Think about the excitement of that. You've been holding it in all this time. You got to be under a mask. You can't talk about it except in confidence to the people you might be planning with. But then it happens. There's that moment. Man, I bet that's exciting. You want to go off the freaking rails.
And as an actor, I said to Carrie, I go, wouldn't you just be like, now I can ham it up? Like they're not trying to say, be, Anthony Hopkins crazy. They're not going for the Academy Award here. They're saying they know what movie they're in, and they've got like pretty much a blank canvas to go crazy. And you got to have some fun with that. And they have fun with it. And sometimes I like it better than others. Like when I saw Scream 2 for the first time, I've said it on the show, and I'll say it again. I was a little disappointed at the reveal. I was kind of like, who, what? Because I guess I wasn't paying attention to the characters as much. I guess the cool thing about this one is, although I didn't like the last one, you've got the weight of the last one as the introduction to these characters. Because remember, I hated Sam. Like, I did not like Sam, so I wanted her dead at this one. And as I mentioned, text again, I'm totally cool with Sam in this one. Something happened. Her delivery of dialogue was better. Maybe just her lines were better. I liked almost everything about that. I could still do without the Billy Loomis ghosty stuff, but I get it. It's minute, and it's a carryover from the last one, and it's showing a little bit of depth to her character and who she might be or might not be. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
I liked that stuff. I liked the emotional stuff between the sisters and everything else. And
that was good. Like, you got to let me go, and how they worked that into like kind of the arc and whatever.
We're good. The sibling stuff was good. I like that, like you said, and protecting and everything else. And I liked where her character went. I'm always going to call her Jenna, but I know that's not her name, and I forget. It's Sam, and starts with a T, right? Tara.
Yeah, maybe. I'm bad with that too, man. You're asking wrong. This is when we needed Brandon, because Brandon was always good with the names.
You're right.
I just remember Sam from the last one, because I was irked by her. I don't know why, because she was totally fine in this movie. It's like I said, total different reaction. I also saw this in 3D because they did it on purpose. The 2D screenings were the shittiest times at one theater, and that's the theater we needed to go to. It practically matinees only, and we had to go at night. And then at the other theater, started too early. So the only option was 3D. The 3D was practically useless. I love 3D. I'm a sucker for 3D, but this movie's pretty much practically useless in 3D because it wasn't shot in 3D.
I didn't even bother.
Is it that type of thing. Yeah. But I didn't have the option, so we went. No one complained about it. It was fine. But I'm just saying, the only effective 3D moment really would be probably that scene where they have to go from window to window. and they're climbing over the
okay.
ladder. That there's some nice perspective there. Probably the standout sequence in 3D. The only time it really worked or could have possibly been quote unquote necessary, because it was a total cash grab for any other scene. But hey, we had to go see it at the time. We had to go see it, so we went. And I wasn't complaining because, like I said, sucker for 3D, but there was really no reason to see it in 3D. Save your $5 or whatever premium they charge you for it and just see it regularly if you can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
unless it's a big thing for 3D, I never really. It's not my first choice anymore. You know, there was a time, but I don't trust it. I don't trust the money anymore to spend the money on it if it's going to be worthwhile. You know, but I understand why you had to at the time. I get
it was just the timing. Like, I mean, if my daughter was done work an hour earlier, we would have gone to see it in 2D at the other theater. Just the reality of it, just how it worked. Because now you book your tickets online ahead of time. I've got my seats, everything. So you just show up, grab your snacks if you want, you go in. So it's awesome. I love that. But yeah, so we did it. It wasn't horrible, but it was definitely not worth any extra money.
Yeah.
Like for it at all.
That's what I'm saying.
Two things I noticed that were in the trailer. Obviously that I'm something different line doesn't show up anywhere in the fucking movie.
Who's that now? I don't even know what that is.
Well, you didn't watch the trailer because you're anti-trailer. Right. But in the trailer, when Gail is conversing, they show quick scenes of Gail conversing when she's on the phone.
Maybe, but there's never been one like me, Gail. I'm something different.
He's like, you haven't seen something like me. I'm something different. I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Right.
And that was like the gimmick so that got people kind of going, what does he mean something different? So I think that's where a lot of people saying is Stu coming back. Maybe he didn't die or whatever. Like it's like a repeat killer, because there is nothing really different about it. It's the exact same type of ghost face.
Yeah.
So that line wasn't in it. And when he uses the gun in the Red Band trailer, I almost guarantee that there's two versions of that, and one of them shows no gore like the movie, and one of them shows blood splatter up, and that wasn't in the film that I saw. So I'm wondering if, and I don't know why, because there's more than enough gore throughout the rest of the movie, why they felt they needed to cut that. But if there's going to be an extended cut for video or Netflix that has that shotgun and blast, and again, chime in guys if I'm wrong, but I remember the Red Band trailer, which I guess we could watch right after this again to confirm, showing blood when he uses the shotgun in the convenience store, which was a very good scene.
The whole thing was agreed.
There was some great suspense. There's actual suspense and set pieces in this movie, and that's what separates it. It didn't like that. I love that whole window to window scene. It was tense. The shrine introduction, when that shrine scene came, it was one of the first sequences where my wife and I turned to each other and said, this is pushing it a little bit, but I was loving the movie so much that I'm like, I'm willing to forgive it. And then I thought that it got right back on track again and delivered. The subway scene was great. Like there was great sequences again. And I didn't feel this giddy since the first and second Scream, to be honest.
No shit, huh? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
And I didn't guess the killer. I mean, I went back and forth.
I did for the first time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You guessed it, right? So you guessed the quiet guy, I'm assuming?
No. Okay. We're spoiling anyway. No. Yeah. I will tell you this. I guessed the guy behind it all, the fucking cop, right? I thought him, and as I'm watching the movie, here's my notes. They're all right here. I'm taking notes actually, because I was in the not the handicap spot. I can't say that word, but the fucking accompanying thing next to it where the chairs are, because they were open. So I booked one of those spots, and if I would have had to get up, I would have, but there were none, so we're good. So what I did was, there's nobody around me, so I had my coat above me.
Oh, the one beside it. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
I lifted up like a little hood like that, and then I could type. So anyway, I'm taking notes the whole time.
And film it. Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. And what did I say here? Well, hold on. It says, where was that part where I was? Am I supposed to know these people? Yeah, that's another minute. Okay. Oh, the store scene is all great. Oh, okay. Apparently Chad lived, which was stupid. But anyway, okay.
Well, hey, that's the one quibble, the biggest quibble of the movie.
That's fucking. I can't
Dude,
stand that.
they had three great death sequences that turned out to not be death sequences.
That's what I'm saying. It's
in this one. I mean, I know that he survived, so he's the new Dewey because he survived the last movie, and you didn't even realize he survived. You watched it right before.
So stupid.
Went to see 6. So he survived the last movie.
Like, who is this guy? I didn't know it was him. I'm like, wait a minute, he died in the last one because I just watched it. He went outside, looked for his girlfriend, and they put the app on the phone, and his girlfriend came back, and he didn't. We saw him get fucking stabbed.
He gets Dewey'd out though at the end. You see him. You see him alive at the end again.
At the end
it's
of
not
5?
like or getting into. So that he's alive. Like it's this death because he had an actual kind of, I'd say, an emotional death. Like it actually was that run. Like I love that. Like I think we incorporated like a little bit in Happy Trails. I think when one character gets killed, I love that where like the boyfriend just is like wants to do the best thing he can in that moment when he knows he's gonna die at the hands of the killer, which is just tell his girlfriend, friend, whatever it may be, to run or get the hell out of there. There's an emotional weight there. Whether now it becomes a trope or not, I don't care because I love it. And he does it, and he gets stabbed repeatedly.
Yes.
And Dewey's his way out of it.
Yeah, stupid.
But it's a great death, quote, fake death because he's not dead scene. Again. And from an audible standpoint, we find out his sister, Mindy, and Courtney Cox's character, Gail Weathers, excuse me, my God, survives, or they're both going to pull through from their wounds.
Naturally. The fucking Gail thing was a robbery and a half. I was so pissed off. Because I'm like, they're actually gonna fucking do it. Then I thought, oh no, they're not. Then they swerved it again. I'm like, holy fuck, there's no way. And then they
they did it, and another successful death. All 3 of those deaths were successful, but it's almost like they didn't have faith that the audience would stick around for another one if these key characters died. And I'm like, that's the only problem with the movie, and I don't hate it for it. I still love the movie, but I was like, but you had me. I'm still really like the movie, but I'm like, but damn it. Like, what an emotional high. Yes. And now they're all alive. And if they're going to survive again, they survive again. But they were like, those were, again, I'm repeating myself, but 3 well done deaths. And I'm shocked that are now not actual deaths. Scratch them off the list.
That's a complaint. And then the one at the end is the worst because fucking, every time I hear those dreaded words, hey, we got another one here. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And they fucking pull out. Those motherfuckers survived. Yeah. What the fuck? I understand you want to have a few people live. I get that. And they do that in this franchise. But don't make it that fucking obvious. That, and I always tell my wife, these are the rules. These are the rules. Fucking, if you don't see the body, they're alive. It's the truth. If you don't see, and that's what I said about Palpatine when people complained about that. I'm like, you know what? We never saw the body. So if we're gonna excuse it in fucking Scream, then excuse it in Star Wars too. That's what I tell people. Same
that's
shit.
Right. On the street. No one's asking. You're just on the street corner fucking going, you didn't see Palpatine's body.
I'm just saying, the people want to knock on that. Motherfuckers. You gotta be consistent. It's just same thing with the hospital in part 5. Why is the hospital so empty? Only one guy's there. Yeah. Well, I excused it in Halloween too. I'm not going to knock it here. There are some quiet hospitals, believe it or not.
Well, I used to laugh at Halloween too. How quiet. Again, I've told it on the show before. Until I went to a hospital in fucking Lincoln, Ontario, like West Lincoln Memorial, and it's Haddonfield Hospital. You walk down 2 hallways, not a soul. You didn't see anybody.
See?
And I'm like, well, that's that. There it is, Haddonfield Hospital. So, small ship reader hospitals are going to be like that. If you're like downtown New York,
right?
Maybe not. But anyway, and you know what? They did a good job with the New York. It didn't feel it didn't feel like as wedged in like I like was expecting or whatever. I like the Easter egg of Jason Takes Manhattan. I
Yeah,
love that first kill. I thought this was the best opening since the original movie, in my opinion.
it was nice to see Samara Weaving. It was nice to hear her talk about slashers. It was a cool opening. And here's the weird thing: that voice that was on the phone, I could swear that was Elijah Wood. I'm telling you, that fucking voice, it was bugging me. I was like, who does it sound like? Who does this? It sounds like Elijah Wood. I don't know. It's something to look into maybe. But anyway, all that stuff
Wasn't
that
it just the
happens.
actor that they used after, or no? You don't think so?
I
The
don't remember. We don't know which
East Indian
actor
guy.
killed him. We don't know who killed him.
Oh, that killed him. But he was the one that talked to her on the phone.
Oh,
No,
that's true. You're right, but it
he was the
sounded
one that talked to her, and then I thought that was great. I'm like, he's gonna pull. That in my mind, I'm like, he's gonna pull off this mask, and I'm like, awesome. There's copycat killers.
well. Here's what
And
I
then
thought.
okay,
I was happy. I was like that, and it was cool that he said something red and all that stuff. And the thing is something red and all that shit. And then this is my note. No way this stands, but I can hope. I was excited. I thought they were giving away the reveal of the killer in the first fucking 5 minutes because it's never been done before. I was like, how cool would this be if we know the killer already and this movie takes a different approach that all the other Screams didn't. You know, but of course,
I was thinking that. I was thinking that for a split second as well, and then he went back to his thing. And then when he found his buddy, in the fridge, I thought that was fantastic. Like this is what I'm saying. There was a lot, like that's the stuff that was never in Screams to that degree. There was a lot of body carnage. Like even when that girl fell and her head bashed off the side of the thing, like they show close-ups of it and whatever, close-ups of the wound. You saw a knife stabbed into a belly and turned, and it just hits you. Like it was really well done. She dies, of course. And that was a quibble that my wife said, which is kind of funny. There's no time for remorse in these movies. No character ever has time for remorse other than for themselves or for like if it's the two main characters, like the sisters. Like, yes, they're talking about what happened in the last movie and trying to get on with their lives. But this girl, Mindy's girlfriend, fucking died. And she's going on with life and talking about franchises and everything and how you have to survive and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like nothing's happened and that she didn't go through any trauma that her girlfriend just died the night before. It's erased completely from any emotion that character goes through afterwards. And again, I'm stripping this back. Still love the movie, but it's a truth.
Well, and something else about Mindy. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just watched Scream 5, then I went out and saw Scream 6. So it seemed to me that she was knowledgeable about stuff like this in part 5, but in part 6, it seemed like she was triple, like she was full-fledged Randy and knew everything about horror. Am I right or am I wrong? Didn't it seem like she was much less of a horror fanboy in the first one? Like she knew things, yes, but all of a sudden this one, when they had that conversation, which is great by the way, with Kirby and all that, and they're big horror fans, but all of a sudden, and then she's giving the speech about franchises and this and that. I don't think that part of her personality. Like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it was pushed that hard in 5.
It wasn't, and I think they pushed it to because she's Randy's niece. I think they figured there's a blood relation there. Make her it. It would have made maybe more sense for Kirby to be it, but she wasn't in that scene. But because she was a horror fanatic now growing up, I love the joke of, "Aren't you like 20?" She's like, "No, I'm 30." Because if you're gonna buy Nancy Thomas being a fucking shrink in part 3 of Dream Warriors at probably the tender age of 22, then she is 30 and she could be an FBI agent. And I do love the swerve that they give you, like she has been on mental leave for a couple of months, a couple of, whatever it's been, she's not been on the force for 2 years. I love that because then they did the most effective, again, in my opinion, Twisterino, where you think it's this person, no, it's that, no, it is this person. And that the last time that was effective was the first movie. They've done it. They've tried to do it in all the other ones. I just don't think they've done it well. It's never won me over. This one I was invested in again.
See, this is what was weird for me, because I had it pegged. Back to my notes. It said, okay,
Yeah.
store scene great. Okay, so Chad lives 2 low blows in 2 movies, because yeah, she gives a low blow to fucking what's his name in Scream 5, Dewey, and then she gives a low blow to fucking what's her name, whatever, Gail Weathers in this one. And I was like, that was weird that she gave them each a low blow, and they said something about it. But then, okay, this was my note. It says, okay, first that shot, and then the inquiry followed by her being named. I know the killer. As soon as there was a conversation happening, and they almost gave him like a Roy shot. They showed something. I go, and then this and that, and then the inquiry about fucking Kirby and him doubt. I'm like, I go, everything right then and there. I said, I know the killer. And then my next note is, maybe not. All right. Because of what happened after with the daughter. I'm like, well, okay, but then I said this, although no body shown. They show her being thrown into a few people, and then we don't see it again. And then, the next day I'm looking, I'm like, is there going to be a funeral? And they blew it off. So now I was suspicious of him. So that stayed in the back of my head. Her, I go, okay, I know there's no body shown, so it's possible. Maybe maybe I'm going to be right on this time.
If you question that a little bit longer, like he said he swapped the bodies out, but he was playing that it was his daughter, like to everybody. Like the cops knew that his daughter was killed, correct?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, when he comes out, he's crying, and there's other police officers there kind of looking at him like, oh, that poor sap. And he's like, I'm not really on the case anymore. So where I'm going with it, though, is if we peel back that a little bit more, his daughter is alive and well. What's the end game? Like if you really think about it, there's probably there's a major plot kind of convenience and error there from a longevity standpoint, just to have her come back as a killer. Great. I loved it for the movie purposes, but in real life, how far can that fly? Like he talks about swapping the bodies out, but he didn't go to a funeral, and he's not mourning the death of his daughter. That was another one my wife mentioned, but then I said, well, there's a reason for that. His daughter actually didn't die, so that's forgivable, sort of. But everybody else would think she died in real life.
Right. I didn't think about the quiet kid. So, like I said, I knew the killer. I knew the father. It had to be him. I'm like, well, what's the deal here? Then the thing with the daughter made me more suspicious. They didn't show the body. I'm like, okay, what's the motive here? So I said that I called the killer. I didn't call the fucking the third part of it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't the thing at the end with the boy. But I thought there was a good swerve involving him on the subway. I thought he was going to get killed and not the other girl. Right?
No,
that's what I thought.
So
and then she would feel guilty for not wanting to be with him. And she kept saying that he's fucking, what's his name? He's Ghostface, right? So I thought she was going to feel guilty because she was trying to stay away from him. And then he ends up getting killed by Ghostface as a result. So that was a nice little fucking swerve there, because I thought it was going to go the one way. And it didn't. And then when she got stabbed the fuck up, I'm like, holy shit, they're going to kill her off now. Another character I like, but another damn cheat. I just don't hit me there and to think that something major is going to happen here. And then, so where were we now? I forgot what we were saying. I said I called something, but not the end. There was a swerve in the subway. We thought something. It was a robbery.
You said you didn't think he thought he was going to get killed, and we got cheated again from her death. But at the time we didn't, because she looked, again, it was a pretty. Like these are deep fucking wounds that people are getting here.
And at the end, she's running up. That's what really got me. Like it wasn't like we know Gail's pretty fucked up. She's probably going to be in a hospital, but just one cheap way to keep her around for another movie, fine. But then all of a sudden at the end, they're there, like at the ambulance after the after effects of it, and they're doing their shit. All of a sudden, fucking Mindy comes running up without a spot on her, like fucking she was completely healthy. I was like, what the fuck's this? She should be all fucked up. She shouldn't be like sprinting around all happy like nothing happened. It was so weird. Little things like that.
Well, sorry, I'm getting confused. When did she do that?
At the very end of the movie, when she came back to announce that she survived.
Mindy? At the post-credit sequence you talking about? Like what you said?
Not the post-credit. The end of the movie. The end of the movie, they're outside, they survived. Right before they swoop away and they go up into the fucking sky and the credits roll. They're outside in the ambulance, they're talking. The one says, "Oh, we got a live one here." And I said, "I dread hearing those words." And they pull the one.
That's Drake. That's her brother, though. I thought she was in the hospital with Gail.
So did I, but Mindy comes running up with a fucking white t-shirt on, fresh as the fucking daisy, like nothing was wrong.
I must have been looking at my family. I must have been looking at my family for that. I heard them verbally say that her and Gail will be okay. And then it went up to the sky. And I guess I must have just been so like, oh my God, this has been great. I can't believe I enjoyed this movie so much. I didn't see her running up spring fresh or anything. Then the movie ended. I don't remember any of that.
In my mind, unless I'm losing my mind, she came back because I remember looking, saying, "How the hell is she so freaking peppy? What is this?" They didn't have a core 4 moment at the end. I'm trying to.
They did. He did. She took it. Jenna Ortega takes the thing off of her brother, and we were laughing because he's, honey, he needs that to live. And then she even jokes about it, like, "Oh my God, you need that." He said he does the core 4 joke. But maybe you're right. Maybe that's the reason they say core 4, because she runs up as well. But I thought they verbally say it, and that's what allows him to say core
that
4.
Too. That was the weird part. They said they were going to survive and something else, and then I'm telling you, she runs up. I doubt I'm wrong, but it has been. It has happened before. Well, my memory isn't good, but I remember watching it and saying, "How the hell is she so good?" Let me see what my notes say.
It's probably because I was laughing about her taking the air oxygen off of his face to be able to kiss him and whatever. But I love they reference that, and a lot of times that's it. Like even the meta stuff. So Chris A.K. Scott said he didn't want to spoil anything for me. He actually loved the last one. He doesn't like Scream movies. He actually said the last one was his favorite Scream movie. So then he went to this one and said it was just average. Didn't take anything away from it. Said the meta talk and dialogue was off the charts, and some of it was cringe. And so do I.
Very little in this movie.
And again, the last one seemed wedged in and heavy-handed. This one had the one scene where they're talking about like franchise and everything else, which again is a staple of the Scream series. Yes. It looks like they're not going to lose that aspect, because then otherwise it doesn't separate itself from another slasher. So I guess this is the thumbprint of Scream. You're going to have all the self-referential meta shit put into the script one way or the other. I would love to do without it now. I figured this trilogy could have been its own thing. They could have referenced a requel or whatever in the last one or whatever, and then be done with it. But so be it. I didn't find it nearly as irritating or annoying in this movie. I was fine with it.
Me too. I was just a little perturbed that she was so much more of an expert this time around. I was like, wait a minute, she wasn't that strong about it. I remember she had some things to say, but I did not remember her being a walking, talking freaking horror dictionary. But in this one, she was. And that's all I'm saying. It's like they forced the Randy on her. It's like they made her way too. That was a little forced. That was forced. The end was forced. Speaking of the original cast and what you said before about Stu and how they had the TV there, and when someone said that he wasn't dead, or hold on, I have that in my notes too.
I love that though. They're playing with fan people saying maybe Stu's coming back, maybe this. They weave that into the script a little bit.
Yeah, but wait a minute. They said if you believe he's dead when they're looking at the shrine, but still,
that's fan service.
So what?
I love it.
I don't, because what? So you're telling me in the Scream universe, his body was never recovered, and there's no explanation why?
You gotta, again, you're right. You gotta suspend disbelief.
Well,
no differently than in this movie. What is the end game for the guy to fake his daughter's death only to have his daughter alive for the rest of her fucking life if she was to survive? If they got around, so she's not a suspect for us in the movie, but all his coworkers and everybody else in real life think his daughter's dead.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Unless I'm missing something there. I know he said he swapped the body out, but were they going to pretend it was a different person? Well, he said he went in. He pulled the old Manna Carino. He said, I got there early, was able to swap the body out, so no one was the wiser.
Oh, I didn't see when the reveal happened. I was so jazzed that I got the fucking pick. I was like, oh, I fucking knew what this, and I was just like, kind of like, but then at the same time, I didn't know how I felt. Even though I predicted it, I'm like, does this hurt it or does it help it? But a minute prior to that, I thought, and these are my notes right here, this is the word. Well, first of all, Shrine is Sweet, finally a tag team kill. Finally, because we've always had two ghost faces. For once, they killed somebody at the same time together. They were doing teamwork.
Yes.
That was fucking great. And then I said this.
Until it wasn't.
Right. And then I said, oh, thank goodness they didn't do that. Because when all of a sudden they were pointing at fucking Kirby, and I said, if they make Kirby the killer, it's the most obvious fucking thing. I think I predicted it fucking.
I like the swerve on that though, Dave. I like
what I'm saying.
They did make her like that. And then you see him coming up and you see Ghostface coming behind him and he shoots Kirby.
Yep.
And you're like, what the fuck's going on? He's going to get attacked. And then you're like, it stops. Nope. I'm like, they did it. And again, this hasn't been successfully done since the first Scream, in my opinion, within this franchise. I mean, they've tried to do it in all of them. This is the most successful I think they've been with flipping it around and back and forth and playing around with it. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I think, well, again, this is my opinion of it. So for me, it has been the most successful since the first movie. It's not the same as the first movie, but I was giddy, like I said, and it hasn't happened that way because I was a little bit more annoyed when I first saw Scream 2. I liked Scream 2, but the first time I saw it, I was like, what? Who's that again? What's happening here? Billy Loomis's mother, that's cool. Oh my God, Mrs. Voorhees, and that's the part I latched on to. But then upon more viewings, I enjoyed that one more. I know you're not so fond of it, but I enjoyed that one more. This one has eclipsed it now, so I think it's 1 and 6. And the funny thing is, 6 can't exist without 5, really.
Well, no.
So I understand why 5 is there. I could respect it. I'll watch it, but it does really nothing for me. I said Dewey's the best part of that movie.
Yeah,
his character, what happened to him, and his death.
I agree.
But anyway, it did set this up, but I thought the characters were much more likable in this, and they had more. I was on board with them here. I didn't hate them out of the gate, and something just worked this time.
Right. Well, here's something else I don't like, and I know I keep picking things out, but I do like the movie. But this is one thing that bothered me. How the hell, when he calls Gale Weathers on the phone, how does he know that Gale's never had a conversation with Ghostface in fucking 5 previous movies? Yeah. How would he know? He even said, we've never talked before, as if it's the same person.
Someone in the theater said, yeah, that's right. And I didn't. Yeah, I'm like, going, oh, they must. I was like,
but how does
you're
he?
right,
How does
though.
this kid
Who
know?
would know? It's like a Roy. It's a Roy like situation. You would know exactly.
Nobody would know. A phone call?
That's. It's funny you picked up on the first view. I'm sure a lot of people would pick something like that up on the first view, but it's interesting that the person behind me was very, very much on board with, yeah, that's right. They haven't spoken.
If you would have taken a second to think, well, even if it is the case, how would the killer in this movie know everything about her past and every phone call she's ever taken from everybody?
Yeah, exactly.
Even Jigsaw can't do that. I'm like, wait a minute.
So you're cool. You're cool with the family unit and the shrine that was the previous killer's shrine to the killer. Well, it gave more weight to the previous killer.
Yeah.
In part 5. Like, well, because really you're just like, you're always going like, fuck, really? Another guy? Like, but no, now they've actually gave him more depth.
Right.
There's way more of an obsession than just a casual, like, oh, I watched the stab movies or whatever. Like, this was an obsession.
Yes.
And I was a little worried at the beginning because I do find that these movies walk on a fine line about like the message that they're trying to send about video violence, and like when the guy's describing how it felt, but to kill somebody and whatever, and I'm like, and he's watching Friday the 13th, and you can tell he's a horror fan and whatever. Right. And I'm like, oh, I don't like what they're doing here. But it was more about the way that he describes death, and that it was like an animal and meat, and he disassociating the human element to only then be killed and being asked the same questions of what does it feel like, which I thought was awesome.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that it erased everything, that because I'm like, okay, that's what they were going for there. So I was cool with it. But
Absolutely.
lots of little Easter eggs, lots of fun. Like I said, I was maybe again, I told Chris that maybe him saying that he didn't like it lowered my expectations a little bit. I had zero expectations until I said I'm going this weekend, and then I got excited. Like for Friday the 13th, I've been like counting down the days. For Scream 6, I wasn't counting down the days, but I really wanted to see it because I wanted to support, like, slashers and horror, like we all say we should be doing at the theater for all of them. And I can't get to all of them, but this one I knew the family would join me for, and we all went. And I think my son was the only one that was disappointed.
How do you like that? Damn. Well, I like the character work too. I like most of them. I like what they had going on. That was, and again,
the neighbor.
Yeah. Oh yeah, across the hall, that whole situation.
Yeah.
Across the yeah,
Good
that was
red
cool.
herring.
And the suspicion, which of course is going to be there, but you're like, there's no way, that would be too obvious. Don't do that, and don't do fucking Kirby. That's all I was thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just anything but that. Come up with something smart. That's what I'm watching. I'm like, if it's not what I predicted, what's it going to be? Because I did have doubts eventually, but I was like, if it's not this, how is this going to work? I was trying to fucking figure it out, and I couldn't. I'm like, well, we'll see what happens, unless they go cheap and they go Kirby, which would suck. And then for a second there, I thought they were gonna, and then I was like, okay, we're good. So that
you know
out.
what? As much as because I told Carrie didn't know about Nev Campbell not getting the money that she wanted. She goes, "It's Nev fucking Campbell. Like, give her what she needs for the movie." They did her service. Like, I mean, I think this movie succeeds by not having them, like, just having Courtney Cox in there and not having to worry about how much love, screen time, what to do with the characters. I think that's why this one works. So I think the next one might even work more or so, although Gail Weathers lives, but they gave her a sweet sort of send off without being able to have her in the movie with she needs her happy ending, and they left it at that. And I thought, you know what, since they didn't have the money to give her, and they didn't give it to her, which kind of sucks for Nev and for fans that really wanted her to continue the series. I think they did the only thing that they could script wise without being assholes about it, and killing her off, or said she died in a car accident or something like that, and just said, give her a happy ending and she's okay.
No, it's great. Well, this is why it works, because they went to New York. If it would have been in Woodsboro or somewhere she would be, or something, but that ties in with part 5. They kept saying we want to get the fuck out of here as soon as possible, and then they did, and they got it at the end. They said, and they left. So and their 2 friends came with them, the twins. You know what I mean? So they came. So the 4 of them went, and what have you? They all went to New York in the same school. They pulled a 90210 thing, where they all went to California University together to proceed. So they all went together the same, but they're in New York as opposed to California. So it would make sense. Why would Nev be there? So if you're going to move it, that's a good reason to move locations. And there's too many characters now, and there's too much character stuff now between the 2 sisters and the other siblings now to have other people in there. Nev and them are just going to be fucking, they don't need them now. They just don't.
You're right.
You don't have to have them at this point.
I wholeheartedly think that I'm surprised you didn't think it was as glorious. I just thought there was,
maybe it is. I'm looking at my notes, and I'm thinking,
eye stab, face stab, stab in the mouth.
They're all stabs.
Gutting. Well, they didn't think outside the box from the weapon usage, which is fine. Right. It's Scream. But the hunting knife is one of my favorite weapons, but they use it in the best way you can, which is instead of just getting stabbed in the you've got someone getting stabbed in the eye, stabbed in the mouth, stabbed through the face, stabbed in the gut, twisted, like that eye, right through the fucking thing in the door. It was great. The shrink, beautiful. And like there's they play around with that. And then that one girl that was all bloodied and stabbing and gushing blood, she falls from that ladder, bashes her head off the thing. The guy's cut to pieces in the fridge, like, and the other guy gets gutted or whatever. Like, we keep getting told that the boyfriend in part 1 got gutted, and he's outside and on the porch, whatever. Like, there's just there's a lot of good knife play. And then the multiple death that the guy survives. He should have died. One of the siblings should have died there, to be honest. But oh well. That maybe keeps it from being like, I forgot where does that full head explosion kick in? Is it 8 or 8.5?
It's 8.5.
Okay, so then I'm a half head explosion, and high on that, very high half head. And if two of those people died, I may have even been a full head explosion. I know that sounds weird, but I do think it's a bit of a cheat.
I do too. I'm with you.
Yeah.
It is. And I'm a half head too. But I'll say this. I liked it more than the last one, and I liked the last one enough. The way I rank them, it goes 1, 4, 6, 5. 2 and 3 are still my least favorites.
And that's okay. Mine now is 1, 6, 2, and then probably all the 3, 5, 3, and then 4, 5, and then 3.
There you go.
So just kind of like that. And again, 3 always gets rated the least, but I don't hate it. It's just the least successul out of all of them. It feels a little been there, done that, a little jump the sharky with all the Hollywood shit and whatever. But again, it was too on the nose, that one. But I do like the single killer aspect of it, and there are some good things going for it as well. But just too many groups, not enough set pieces like this one has. This one, and again, if this was just a regular slasher, we'd be blowing it. But because it's part of the Scream universe, I think it holds a different weight to it.
If it was a regular slasher, I'd probably be more angry, because you don't see that many survivors in any other slasher, and you don't see that many cheats. Being in the Scream franchise, in a way, hurts expectations, because they like people to carry over. Some people say, well, that's what's great about the Scream franchise, and that's fine. That separates it from the rest, so that's fine if you do you. But I still want my people dead. I don't want Jenna dead.
I still want my people.
There's some people I want.
They're all 50 Cent. They've been shot 50 times, and they're coming back like for more.
Minga, when I'm watching the thing with the freaking, when they were doing the thing on the ladder, and they're all getting across, I'm like, somebody got to die. Who's gonna die? And then finally someone does. I'm like, somebody's gonna die.
Who's the fucking snake? Everybody's ladders here. I want someone, and then boom.
Yeah.
Boom. And then they showed it. I said that was a very effective sequence.
That was great.
So much to like in this movie. I very pleasantly surprised. I'm a fanboy of this one. Yeah.
Well, there you go. The kill in the mouth towards the end was great. Of the virgin, the final kill by a ghost face was fucking awesome. One of the best, brutal, one of the best in the fucking franchise, because of the brutality of it. And the conversation those two girls had, the fandom was great. When they talked about best of this, favorite fucking Friday the 13th, one said 2, one said 4, which is fucking great to hear. And then what's the best nightmare? The first one. They talked about they made sense of what the things they were saying,
But the weird killer guys were Argento fans. And they wedged that in there too. Yeah.
He wasn't that weird fan.
Yeah. Wasn't that weird Argento fan or something like that?
What's her name?
Obviously,
Argento. What's her name? She has Suspiria on the top of her on the top of her TV, Kirby.
Did you see last podcast on the left poster?
I did. And it pissed me off, because it should have been
it should have been exploded heads. Fuck.
I'm not saying it should have been exploding heads. It should have been a horror movie review podcast. If he's a fan of horror movies, who do you think should be represented in a horror movie? Someone that talks about fucking real life serial killers, or also lovers of fucking horror cinema? You tell me. Something else should have been. I wouldn't have been mad.
Last podcast on Dead End Street, whatever. What was it? Last House on Dead End. What was the other one? House by the Edge of the Park. I fucked it up. I fucked my own goddamn joke up. Yeah, on that note, fuck y'all. No,
but yeah, it's a good movie. It's a pretty solid flick, and we liked it. So
yeah. So much for 20 minutes. Let's come on, do a quick 20-minute bonus episode, and we just keep going on. Sorry, this is off the rails, guys. This is a bonus. So hey, take it for what it is.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for all the feedback we've been getting on the top 200, and everything else. Right, we still don't know what we're gonna do next, but we're gonna see some fun stuff, some fun.
But we tried this on Zoom, and I hope it worked. We'll see. I'm a little worried that the first part of this video recording may have not turned out, so we'll see. Because if not, then it'll just be an audio version. But anyway, we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, that's all. Yep. Peace. Manchichi, manchichi.